Hello and welcome to the Lazy Susan Revolution podcast series, co-hosted by Chris, Mary, and Sean Ruse. Today we're going to talk about how Mary took a pilgrimage to Washington, D.C. for the March for Life, and take a glimpse into Sean's corner of his life from the week.
And the basement.
And the basement. So Mary, you want to tell us a little bit about your trip this week?
For sure. Okay. So on Wednesday night, I left with some members of my school at Koryezu to join Generation Life, which is a St. Louis-based Catholic youth program that goes to Washington, D.C. each year for the March for Life. And yeah, so we had set out on a long bus trip. I think it was around between 15 and 20 hours. And we arrived in D.C. for the march. We marched, and we went back home. And it was very fun. I went last year, too, and it's always just really impressive to see just how many people come and just how prayerful and joyous everybody is when they're there, and it's a really interesting experience.
Awesome. So if somebody were to be considering going next year, what would you tell them about what it's like, and give some pointers to maybe help them out decide if they want to go next year?
For sure. Okay, so someone who's thinking about going, I would remind them that the March for Life in particular is a very peaceful, prayerful protest. If you're thinking about going to be rude or abrasive or mean, that's not the place to be. Yeah, that's one thing that sets the March for Life apart from a lot of other protests, is just the attitude of everyone there, and that's what we're hoping to get is, I don't know, just our behavior speaks lots louder than the words that we have to say. Also, there's lots of things there there's lots of people trying to get your attention, lots of counter-protesters, lots of images that are kind of disturbing, and just be ready for that. And I don't know, just overall just remember what we're here for, and that we're here to promote life of all kind, and yeah, just have a good time and be nice to all the humans there.
Right. And I think something you were mentioning a lot before, in studying kind of social movements as a whole a few semesters ago, I kind of got the impression that the pro-life movement of all social movements is probably the easiest one to get into, because I feel like a lot of other movements are more...
It's a very big umbrella term kind of thing.
Yeah. And other movements are more, like you said, aggressive, or have I don't know, they could feel very hard to be a part of. But the pro-life movement is just kind of, all you do is you march and you pray and you exist there for a bit. And,
exactly.
I just thought I'd add that in, put it into perspective with other different movements.
Yeah, definitely. And each protest, it's kind of a different perspective for each one, because each protest is there to make change happen in the law, in people's minds and culture. So definitely we are spreading a very powerful message, and we want people to hear us. But yeah, the March for Life is pretty focused on abortion issues, obviously, but people who are pro-life believe in a lot more than just that aspect. That's most of what is talked about today, just because it's the most controversial pro-life topic, and because that is what we're trying to change in law. But also we make a point to tell others that we're really supporting all humans and everyone's life in general, not just the unborn. And we're also looking at end-of-life issues, and also just even economic things or social things, how we need support for each person at every stage of their life, including mothers, babies, fathers, everybody. Literally everyone who is alive is part of this movement in a way. You can't say I'm not pro-life, or because you have a life.
Right. It's
you're here defending your own life, and I don't know. It's just lifting up things that are alive.
Yeah, it's the whole thing of being the voice for the voiceless. Child can't, when they're, in the womb stuff they can't do very much. So it's us speaking out and saying, hey, life is good because if you take that away, then generations can't be coming after that. And
Exactly.
And I think
doing-
it does well that we're talking about the positive and not the negative. We're not talking about like removing abortion. We're talking about allowing life. So it's
Yes.
Yeah.
on one end it like helps it sound more true to actually what it is. On the other hand, it's like it's a whole different thing. I feel like a lot of people think too specifically like, oh, they're just trying to take away this and take away
Yeah.
that. But I don't know. It's different once you've been on the march at least once.
Yeah.
It kind of changes perspective of things.
Yeah, for sure. Perspective is a big part of it. With Generation Life, we had a lot of speakers, and you can probably go onto their website or social media and be able to see these talks. But and a lot of them, they really surrounded it with like perspective and just like what you have on your mind when you're protesting, and it's just kind of like you have to do the right thing even though it's hard, and it's really hard to be in this movement just because there's a lot of people out there who will disagree with you, and that's mostly because each person has a different perspective. But all in all, you have to remember that each life, no matter how old they are, even if they're not born yet, that's a human life that at this stage in their life, because they're so young, they can't really speak up for themselves, and you can't really take it into you can't say like choice is what you're arguing,
Right.
because a lot of people will go back to that, like it should be the woman's choice, obviously, but you can't really forget about the other life that's on the line. You can't say, I don't know.
It's a weird choice to make.
I
you know?
shouldn't
It's
be like I don't know. Even like they say, like when the child is born, you're not going to be like when your kid is like 12 years old, you don't have a choice to kill your
Right.
kid or not.
Yeah.
It's age isn't the issue. It's just remembering that. Yeah.
Yeah, and just saying the other alternatives, like if you can't take care of a kid now, you can always give it up for adoption, have somebody, like a couple who maybe want a kid and can't have a kid, and you just do that. It's just the alternatives, some people just don't know, so they think the first option is an abortion.
Yeah, of
and
course.
that-
Yeah, our conversation leader guy was talking about all of his adopted kids. He has like 5 adopted kids, and he was
Wow.
talking about what a blessing that is for his life, because you might think that it's not fair to the child to put it up for adoption. You would rather just never really have to struggle through that, but adopted kids can really bring a blessing into other people's lives. And yeah, our group leader really talked a lot about what a difference his adopted children made in his lives, because he and his wife could not have kids, and he had so many funny stories about all these people that were touched by his family. And yeah, it's just really important because each of his kids could have not been there. And a big thing that everyone says in Generation Life is, like a third of our generation is missing. But like if you think about that, like that's your friends. That's somebody that that could have been close to you. That's your friends, your
Yeah.
family. Those are like real people that are gone that we never got to meet.
Yeah, that's super
Since
weird to
Roe v.
think
Wade.
about.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Yeah, like you would I don't know what the math is, but you probably would have had like
A few more friends.
a lot
more
more
friends.
friends, a lot more people to see.
My pod of 4 people could have been 5
Five.
people,
Could have
Exactly.
had more people follow you on social media and stuff.
Of course, yeah, but these are all like real people out there, like that are gone.
Yeah, and that's really interesting to talk about, and I'm glad that you shared the experience of March for Life, and if people are out there and want to go on the march, that they should do it, and myself included. I've never been on the march, and I
Yeah, I think you'd have a great time.
try to go next year, so thank you for talking about the march. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit over to Sean. So this week,
All right.
I see this machine 3D printer in your area, and I've been hearing it a lot, and just
Little
what's
whirs and
happening
beeps.
over here
Yeah,
with this?
Right over about 2 to 3 feet from our microphone, we've got the Creality Ender 3.
Creality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This this hunk of junk can extrude so much plastic that it makes new things. It's not doing it yet because it's a hunk of junk. But I'm slowly but surely figuring out how to use it, how to tweak all the settings, because I got this big program on my computer that I change a billion settings to help affect, the quality of the 3D print that comes out at the end of the day, or the end of the 6 hours. But each time you change one setting, it messes with all the other ones. So there's this big tree of complexity, and so I've been doing a bunch of research and stuff like that. My end goal is to be able to print miniatures for D&D. And it's really tough because when you get that small of a scale, printing every single detail, it's just so touchy. Like, if any little thing is wrong, you really see it. So I've been working on that a lot, and when I get frustrated with that, I try and do something else. My other end of my hobbies at the current moment have to do with programming. Right now I'm going through this phase where I'm learning a lot about web development. So learning how to make websites with HTML and then make them look cool with CSS and make them do fun things with JavaScript. And figuring out how to make that all come together. And I did make one really cool thing, actually. Mary, I don't think you've even seen this yet. I showed Christopher.
Oh, is this for Spirit Arc?
Yeah, it's for Spirit Arc.
You did hint at that.
Yeah, so it's called... it's hard to provide enough context, but the short backstory is I'm creating an RPG system like D&D. It's called Spirit Arc, and it simplifies the game a lot. It makes it more story-based and more character-based rather than gameplay-y, mechanic.
It's good for your not as nerdy friends who
Yeah.
aren't ready to learn all the ins and outs of D&D just to sit down and play for one night.
Yeah, because I noticed people were like, yeah, I'd be interested in playing D&D, but they're so intimidated by oh,
Exactly.
what should I
If you're like me,
do?
I want to play D&D, but then
Yeah,
you
me
start
too.
listing out the rules and my brain turns off, and then I make you explain it 2 more times
Yeah.
because I'm not here for
Yeah.
the rules.
and in the past month or two, both of you have joined my weekly Spirit Arc sessions.
Yeah, I mean, it
Short and
helps
sweet.
that a group of friends comes here every time you
Yeah.
play Spirit Arc, and I kind of watch them yeah, let's try it out.
Yeah.
And
How was your first experience?
it was good. I mean, it was a little weird to start out because I've never done something like that before, but
that session was a
Neither
little
of
bit
you
different.
have really played D&D before, right?
no.
No. Yeah, the only other time I played something similar was Lucas's, and that was also a simplified
So
version.
this is kind of your first RPG experience. How did it go doing
Yeah.
Spirit Arc?
Yeah, I liked all of the components of attacking and stuff. Just the story aspect was a little weird to me. It's just
See, I'm the other way around. I
yeah.
am a little confused. I get more confused about the numbers and stuff because it's still a work in progress, and you changing things slightly to perfect it, and I don't know, it's a little bit harder for me to catch on to, but the story is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something that comes more naturally to me, I think, and that's what makes it fun each time because you get to
Yeah.
laugh with all the friends,
And I couldn't help but notice, hopefully I have a big enough sample size to see, but on average, I find that guys are better at picking up these tiny rule mechanics for combat and little small interactions, whereas females, women, girls are better at picking up the whole story and what your character is in general, what they can and can't do and things like that, or they're more creative on average. It's this weird observation I noticed.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was trying to explain to you how to level up your character.
It took a
and
long
you just
time.
did not get it. And then Christopher, I explained it once and he's just doing it.
I know, I'm looking over at Christopher, and he's just writing down his numbers, and I'm here excuse me, what?
Wait a minute. Why is he getting it and I'm not?
Yeah.
What changed?
And on the other end of things, though, I'll say, okay, everybody think of a character concept, and I'll make it specific. And then, like, guys will be like, I want to, like, throw spears. That's kind of cool. And then Mary's over
I'm
here,
thinking, like, the backstory of my...
yeah, like, I'm a
like...
shapeshifter, and I can turn into a fox, and, like, things like that.
You're great.
Or the big algae, you know?
Oh, big
Tell us
algae.
about the big algae.
Big algae, I'm still thinking about him. He was kind of thrown together. I mean, I guess literally and figuratively. He's what he sounds like. He's just a big hunk of algae in a spacesuit, and I don't know. He can't really do much except for be in his suit and just kind of.
He
squish
can shoot
around.
his goo gun.
Yeah, his goo gun is pretty good. It shoots pretty far, but I had a lot of fun squishing around in my suit.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah. It's super interesting to see how different people look at the game.
Yeah.
And something that I've been trying to do to bring it back, I forgot I left a loose end, but like the app I was making,
Oh, yeah.
and I can show you in a bit. But the whole combat system revolves around what I call ticks. Ticks are like sub-seconds. So each turn, you decide what you want to do, and that can take anywhere from like 0.1 second to 2 seconds. And you, depending on what you say to do, I'll say, okay, that'll take about 1.5 seconds. And that will correspond to a number of ticks. They're just points. And then I use an app to keep track of what everybody's doing at what given time. So something that's good to compare it to that might make sense to you is you've played Child of Light, right? And
Yeah,
then
that's it.
if Meg's listening now.
I know where you're getting at with this.
Yeah, so you know the timeline?
Yeah.
So you decide something you want to do, and then based on how complicated that thing is, it'll take a certain amount of time
Oh, that stuff. Yeah.
to get to
yeah,
that red zone where you can cast it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it works. So like your action might take 10 ticks, but yours might take 3.
Yeah.
So if yours interrupts Christopher's, then you successfully interrupt him. So say you parry a block with 4 ticks and Christopher's attack with 6 ticks, you would parry it because you beat him to it.
It makes sense with that sliding scale because you're thinking more about like how much time your enemy would take versus yours. Like
Yeah.
that actually gives me an idea. Is there a way that you could visualize that sliding scale for your spirit arc?
Yeah, so right now it's visualized in a percentage. So the information shows you how many more ticks until you're done doing your action, and then also what percent you are through doing it. So you're like, I'm 60% through my animation or whatever.
Because I think that would help a lot of people catch on to the concept. Because for new people who start playing, it kind of is a little hard to explain with the whole second thing.
It's always been hard to explain, and like I've been a believer in it, so I've been trying to push it, but
I think
it works once you understand it. But I
Yeah.
think being able to see like on a timeline where you are, where you need to be, how fast things are going, it kind of like you can see it in real life, and then it helps you picture it a little better. It's kind of hard to picture the story. I don't know. I'm more of a visual person, so I'm like picturing the story as it's happening.
Yeah, that's something I
So,
noticed. Yeah.
It's kind of weird, like pausing mid fight to like have one person do stuff. I
Right.
don't know. I think that's just how I perceive the game.
And it's supposed to be like each thing you decide is like a full thing. Like it's a full swing or a full reposition or something like that. But it's just something simple. So like the inspiration for it, I know I've been talking a long time, but I'm just super juiced.
Juiced.
The inspiration for it was when I used to DM D&D. In D&D, you can do a lot of things on your turn, and like the more you level up, the more things you can do. So you have your main action, you have your bonus action, there's your movement, you can make a reaction and
Eat a
an
snack in the
interaction.
middle of that.
Yeah, to eat a snack, go to the bathroom, like it's so complicated, and to be a good D&D player, you have to know how to use the full potential of each turn. And that's cool if you like that. I think D&D is a great system, but with Spirit Arc, it's more because I found a lot of people were creative and they're like, all I want to do is do this random improvised action. And I'd be thinking about it. I'm like, well, I mean, it's objectively worse because it does less.
Yeah.
But I wanted to reward that creativity. So what I decided to do was like, well, proportional to how long it takes, that's how long your turn will take. So
That's nice. Because for me, I could have like a whole bunch of weapons and abilities, but I'll just forget about them halfway through the game, and
Right.
I'll just only use my sword the rest
Yeah.
of the game just because it's working now, and I
Yeah.
don't need anything else. So it's,
Do you think that playing Spirit Arc would help a newer player get into actual full-blown D&D?
That's something that I've thought about because it definitely gets them into the RPG game and that feeling of being able to role play and have ability checks and things like that. I'm just worried that if somebody plays Spirit Arc without playing D&D and then they try and move to D&D, they're going to be like, wait, what is... And they,
where did the ticks go?
yeah, like they'd be kind of confused.
I think you'd have to play a couple different RPG
Yeah.
styles to be able to understand the whole scheme of things.
Yeah, but like if you think about it, combat should only be about a third of the game. So
Yeah.
the rest is ability checks, which is relatively similar to Spirit Arc, and then role playing, which is the same across any RPG. It's
Yeah.
just playing your character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So that was really cool. Thank you for explaining
Yeah,
that.
no problem.
So what came into my head, I know we were talking about this a little bit over breakfast, but I just realized that Tokyo 2020 is coming up, the Summer Olympics
Oh,
from
and-
Tokyo, Japan,
I didn't even realize that.
and they're adding, as on our discussion board here, they're adding some new events to it, and I want to see what your views on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So they're adding surfing, like X Games style
Okay.
skateboarding,
Okay.
and rock climbing, which
Yeah.
is like, do you
we
get?
determine it's a race?
Yeah, I think that's how it's gonna be. Like, there's a somewhat high wall, and you put two people on the bottom, and fast one up. So, like, do you guys like this?
That sounds like a good mix.
Do you
I would
not
be,
like it?
Yeah, I think I actually do like all three. I would be super interested. Like, I like the skateboard stuff. Like, X Games is interesting to me because, like, I don't know, trick shots and, like, it's similar to, like, snowboarding in the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, that's
So that would be
Yeah,
interesting
that's-
to watch.
and also surfing
Yeah,
is
surfing
that
is good.
too.
Because for, like, surfing and really all three of those, I would consider them sports, but there's not really a big... I mean, there are, like, little competitions you can do. You can do those sports competitively, but there's not really, like, a big, like, professional route for that yet. Like, people go rock climbing for fun.
For fun, but
Yeah.
that's,
But there's
like-
people who are good enough to, like,
Do
win
it.
things from it, but there's
Yeah.
not really opportunities for them to do that. And I think the Olympics would be a great thing for
Yeah,
them.
that's a good point. Because, like, when you have, like, basketball in the Olympics, it's like they already had
Exactly.
a chance to, like, compete
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
at
The
that
Olympics is more for
scale.
the individual,
for the no-name person from wherever who are
yeah,
really
regular
good,
people to
like
do
you,
their thing.
like 2000 Michael Phelps, who was like 16 and came out of nowhere, and he's won all these gold medals,
Yeah.
and Usain Bolt too, which this is gonna be the first Olympics without them in the Olympics because
Oh,
they've
dang.
gotten old and have retired and all of
I mean,
that.
fresh fish, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll have our new ones.
Yeah.
I have, like, two criteria. In my opinion, what makes a good Olympic game, and this is added on to the whole giving new people a chance to have the spotlight.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm forgetting here. Oh, okay. The other one is internationality. Like, I hate it when we do a thing where it's like hockey. It's just like it's
Yeah.
just Canada and U.S. Like,
Yeah.
no one really can compete, so I don't really like that.
Yeah, making it global is good.
Right. And then the other one is I'm not that big of a fan of judged sports, like diving and stuff,
Yeah.
That
because
is.
it seems so
kind
arbitrary. Like,
Of yeah.
yeah, it's like
subjective.
yeah, it's this weird subjective opinion. I know it's kind of like fitting a form, and you know how hard it is, but it just feels
Yeah.
weird. I like the races. I like the how strong are you type thing.
And like
That's why I asked like whether rock climbing was a race or if it was
I like judge.
a judge,
So-
like you did it well or something.
Yeah, or
I-
something weird where like you get extra points for using difficult
Difficulty.
ropes. I don't know.
Yeah.
like
Like you did this so much better than the other person, so
Person.
you deserve the gold medal.
I think it's supposed to be more of like a speed and efficiency thing.
But yeah, going on to that, what is your guys' favorite you guys like the Winter Olympics, the Summer Olympics, and what events do you like? Like you kind of talked about
Right.
it with the running and stuff, but like Mary, what is your favorite event to watch in the Olympics?
Do I like winter or summer better, or which event is my favorite out of all of them?
Either or, like
I think, well, in general, I probably like the Winter Olympics better because you can see a lot of other sports on TV a lot, but you don't really like see winter stuff.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit different because I feel like it would be less international because obviously there's not snow everywhere you go, and even though there's people from all over the world, like the Jamaican bobsled team, like don't really have snow in their area. I don't know. I feel like the Summer Olympics is a little bit more open to every type of person. But my favorite event, that's a hard one. Everyone likes gymnastics because it's like interesting, like flips and stuff.
It's crazy what they can do. It just doesn't make any sense sometimes.
yeah.
I don't know. I think what brings me the most joy is just turning on the Olympics and it's like, I don't know, some obscure thing like ping pong or like
Table tennis.
polo or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I've never seen this before. Like, I'm going to see this.
But if you guys
I like being surprised.
look up a YouTube video on top 10 Olympic table tennis rallies.
Oh my God.
Table tennis
The
rally.
table is like, the size of a ping pong table, but they play it to where it's like they're using
They got
the
like a whole court,
the whole area.
They're playing it like tennis, but it's teeny
Yeah,
tiny.
it's
But
like,
it's-
why have a table?
Now I understand the table tennis name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Ping pong is just the recreational. We
Yeah.
don't play ping pong. If you're like Olympics, it's referred to as table tennis. If you go around and people call it ping pong when they're
Ping pong
referring to that,
is for babies.
It's called
Table tennis is for the
There was
professionals.
there was a video that kind of went semi-viral a while ago, and it was really interesting. It was called "I Play Tennis Every Day for a Year," and he sets it up like in his apartment, and like that's like his whole main area of his apartment.
Yeah.
And he starts out, and it looks like he's never played tennis before or table tennis before, and then like they do like 6 seconds from each day. And then you see him get better and better, and he's going wider and wider and becoming more of the table tennis-y.
player.
Skill.
So,
skill.
10,000
so is
hours.
it just like he plays for like 10 minutes and then calls it a day?
I think
or-
he like later in the video he starts to really try, and he goes to tournaments and things like that.
Stuff. Yeah. Like
But
that.
yeah.
Well, this is gonna be wrapping up our.
Oh right, yeah.
We've been here a while.
We've been here a while.
Sorry for taking so much of your time.
So thank you, Mary, for talking a little bit about the March for Life. Thank you, Sean, about talking
no problem.
Spirit Art.
Thank you for
and-
mainly hosting this.
And
Yes.
the Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics, be on the lookout for
Exactly.
that. June and July and August, you'll get the Summer Olympics. And signing off until next week. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.